There you are.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for being here. I I do my homework. I've got a laundry list of questions and thoughts and whatever direction for us to go, and we'll keep it in whatever time frame. I thought we would start with your start with Last American Virgin. I saw that you had a discussion where you were talking that that was I don't want to say a remake. It was almost like an American version, like The Office came to America.
Oh, that's an
Lemon Popsicle.
American Virgin, American version. I like
Yeah,
that.
I didn't even think of that when I
No
said
one's
that.
ever
Oh,
said that.
that's
Now I'm just coming together. Yeah, Last American Virgin was originally, for those who don't know, it was an Israeli film, and it was written and directed by Boaz Davidson. But the thing that was interesting is if you look at that film, it's called Lemon Popsicle. It took place in the 50s. Last American took place in the 80s. These are like time capsules of their time period, but it is actually frame per frame, like they're similar in the shots and in the framing of it. And that's because he had brought his cinematographer with him, and they just shot the movie. So it is amazing to watch this film twice in a different time period with different actors, but it has the same shots and it's the same story. You know,
yeah. It's an
it's
interesting.
yeah, it's based on Boaz's true life.
Oh,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's based on a million boys' true lives, to be honest with you. You know, when you think of the heartbreak and that type of thing and the coming of age. Um, it's interesting that Lemon Popsicle's 50s and then Last American Virgin was in the 80s because they were both periods, even though the first was overseas, they were both decades of prosperity and positivity. Like America was going to be better after some downtimes in the 70s and definitely in the 50s after wartime. So kind of
And
interesting.
Virgin was coming, it was the first teen film made with real teens. Because up until that point, teen films were usually older people playing younger. I was 19 when I did that film.
Okay.
And as I found out later, but I didn't know this, they had been looking for the right person for months and months, and they looked for well-known actors. And there actually was an actress who they were planning to do it with, who wound up getting into soap operas. So it was like it was just a moment in time where I was there and she didn't want to do it or couldn't do it, and there I was and I got the role, and I was like probably the last person they saw. I mean, it was interesting, it was fascinating. I almost didn't even go for the audition. So it's sort of like a kismet thing. It's a moment in time, and I don't know, a lot of wonderful things happen from it. But I love the film too.
Yeah. Well, it's very early 80s, what, 82, right?
82, yeah. So we shot it in 81.
Yeah.
So
Um,
and you've seen the film?
oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So
It's been a long time since I can't remember when I saw it the first time, but it was early 80s. You know, I mean, I lived through the 80s. I'm 56, so everything was big part of my life that was heartbreak, coming of age, like all those themes were kind of right in mesh with what I was doing as, somebody getting out of high school, going to college, that kind of thing. So,
I always felt that movie was really a great way to teach guys about life and love, sex and love. Like I
yeah.
really felt like that movie was one of a kind because you learn so much. Um, it lured guys in with the sex, but then at the same time, then when they learned about love, and then they went, oh no. And a lot of guys who have met me at conventions, they've said to me, I'm so glad I saw that film. I made the right choices, or, or some people said that happened to me. And the other thing is, I mean, I remember when I did the film, I was like, we're not going to do this ending, right? Like my personal opinion was I'm going to go with the good guy with Gary.
Yeah.
And I remember the director saying, "No, no, no, Diane, this is not how you do it. It's my life is true, and we have to do it this way." And I was like, "Oh, I couldn't believe that." I was, and I mean, I was naive. I was coming into the, film business. I'd been working for 9 years, but this was the first time I didn't understand that actors are the actors. We have to play the vision of the director and the writer. And we can have ideas, but it's not our movie. And I think that was it was an interesting lesson for me as an actress, because I was like, oh, okay, now that means I have to make this work. So I remember having to back up and think about how I wanted to play it. And one of the things I did was I said, I do not want you to see this coming. And I think that made it worse. I think it made it worse. It made it harder.
Do you think that maybe that movie had a influence on later movies in the 80s where the happy ending it was something that they stuck to, like Some Kind of Wonderful or Pretty in Pink, or you know what I mean, where they're like, no, let's make sure the right guy and the right girl end up together.
Well, Fast Times at Ridgemont High came out at the same time too, sort of like we were
Hmm.
kind of neck and neck with coming out. Um, and I think actually I've always felt what was interesting about the film is that last Virgin American stories always were happy endings,
Yeah,
usually. I mean, they were grittier films actually in the 70s, but they usually had a happy ending. So I always felt that Virgin, because it was written and directed by a European Israeli director, that it was really, he was just trying to say, this is life and this is true. So that I don't think American sensibilities were ready or were
right,
shocked. You know, I
right.
think it just was a different head. We always try to create narrative that is hopeful, and wanting the best and a goal. And we say, look at this, in a film, we want you to achieve that. Although I do think that, certainly from that generation, there did come a time where we started going into the characters and exploring characters who are heroes and awesome,
Yeah,
the winners in films, to wait, what is their, maybe the bad guy is the good guy. Maybe if the movie was done today, Last American Virgin, maybe Rick would be explored as the guy who we feel bad for. And then maybe, we wish that they had stayed together. I don't know. It's an interesting idea that like where we are in our lives and in the generations we come from, we see things from a different perspective, you know?
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's whatever society is right now.
It
You
is.
know, I mean, when you're watching it, as well as when you're making it, because you might make it differently. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Um,
I've heard people say to me, "You could never make Virgin again today," and I think that's interesting. I always think they could if they did it with the sexting and the just you could, to me, you could do this movie again and then just have the same ending, but it is interesting where would the audience accept it? We have a different world now. But I do think that
yeah.
to watch it in the past and to watch Virgin today, a lot of people really love that film. I mean, I am amazed at how many men and women just love the film. They just love it.
Where do you get the majority of your feedback at like Comic Cons and that kind of thing?
That's a good question. Sometimes I'll put it out on social media and I'll say, what do I'll put out something and I'll just see the comments, how people react and how it affected them. And sometimes at conventions, people will come to me personally and they'll tell me their stories, how it affected them. I love that. I mean,
Yeah,
isn't that what it's about when you make a film? To see
yeah,
how to let people see what you do and then let it affect them in their own way. Because I, as an actor, when I do my work, I get great satisfaction learning about getting into the characters and expressing them, and finding the interesting psychological aspects behind them.
Sure.
And the work is so satisfying. The work is just, I love creating characters and I love working on it more so than seeing the film or getting an award or anything like that. It's just the act of acting is really, I'm very passionate about. But the other part of it is when you find out what it means to people and how different things mean different things to them, you know? Like some people hated Virgin, but then they hated it because it was so real to them, you know? And then other
Right.
people, you know, like I said, everyone's got some kind, they come from a different angle. So I personally really am thrilled when people talk to me about their personal experiences.
Yeah. Well, I have a few friends who, when I mentioned that I was interviewing you, they said she's so active on social. Like, I mean, that was a big thing. They were like, "Oh, it's so cool that she's back and forth with us," you know?
I try to, you know, there's a lot of different things. First of all, I try to bring back memories. So like I'll show old stuff and old, you know, work I've done and then new work.
Yeah.
And I also know that when I post something, you know, maybe something very simple, that vision might just bring back all these memories. And I'll get like so many posts, whereas maybe I
Yeah.
post something that's a little more complicated and people go, oh, okay, fine. So it really is about what hits your heart.
Yeah.
But, and, you know, and I do respond to people. And I'm also very much honest with people. Like if someone posts something and they didn't like it or they're offended, I don't know, you know, like sometimes people, I guess, don't like things. I'm
Right.
really upfront with them and I'm not confrontational. I'm just like, I'm sorry that made you feel that way, or like what, you know, what's it about, or you know what I'm saying? Like I don't
Yeah.
dismiss people. I think that we all are we all come from different places, and so I try to be empathetic, but also, you know, not, you know, if someone wants me to be the bad guy, I'll be the bad guy. I'm the
Yeah.
villain. That's okay. You know, I've murdered people. I've been murdered. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've, you know, just many different parts of the world, seduced, you know, people and been seduced. I mean, there's so many different
Yeah.
aspects of my career that I just like to keep it interesting and keep it a surprise.
A jillion people, you're going to get some comments that are this and some are that. So what are you
Right.
going to do? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it
Yeah.
wasn't, then it wouldn't be, it would be so boring. Life is not, life is
Yeah.
about everybody being able to express themselves. And I'm like, okay, bring it on. Let's talk.
Yeah. Now, did you almost not audition for that film because you were in college?
Yes, yes. I had my chemistry midterm. And by the way, I have a book that talks about my background. I do have a biography. It's called The Excellent Adventures. There's a lot more in the title, but adventures is the word. But I do talk about it. And basically, I was in college. I was about to take a chemistry midterm. And my manager at the time called me and said, you have this audition for this film called The Last American Virgin. And I had like let my hair go all curly, this is my natural curls. And I just was like, I'm not even in shape to audition. I'm like, you know, so I said no. I did say no. I said no, I'm not going to go for
Wow.
it. And I went to take my test, and here's the classic line is I thought I had a better chance of getting a lead in a feature film than passing that test.
Yeah.
So I uh,
Yeah.
I just kind of just said, okay, I like put my answers in. I knew, okay, I'm just gonna, you know, get out of the class after I was done because I knew I wasn't gonna pass it. And I raced up to the audition, and I met the producers. The director had already even left, but I think that they had me read something when I was there. I don't know. It was that I don't remember, but I remember just catching them. And then they said, oh, we're gonna fly you out to Los Angeles next week, and if you
Oh,
get
wow.
it, you'll stay and shoot the film. And if you don't, then we'll send you back.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of excitement I love. I mean, the idea of something happening. And I had been along in the business enough that I knew I could travel to Los Angeles at 19 by myself and handle it. I had been in the entertainment business for 9 years. So whereas some people would be like, oh my gosh, 19 years old, even on my own child, I'd be like, oh, you're just a baby, you know,
Yeah.
my little baby. But you know, I was, I just knew the entertainment business. I had met a lot of people. I was very confident. And people were watching out for me. And yeah, it was just interesting. I behold, I didn't think I'd get it. I just thought I was going to Los Angeles. And then when I got it,
Yeah.
the phone call was like, Mom, Dad, I'm staying here. I'm like, I'm just like staying in Los Angeles. So for a month, I guess, or so how long it took.
Yeah. Well, I can vouch that a small part of your book that I have read is wonderful. Your writing is very easy to read, so people should go get your book. I'll put a link in the description for the podcast, but you're
Thank you. I
from,
wanted to feel like you were in the 80s when you read it. I
yeah,
wanted to feel like I was that age and I'm experiencing it. And I wanted to people to feel that the experience of being a young wannabe actor and the perspective and the excitement, and make it
yeah.
very um, comfortable and colloquial, yeah, like kind of like, or use also the 80s lingo, which was real then.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Totally.
It still is online, for us. Um, yeah, so sticking with that, some of the things that you have to draw up on, even though you were maybe creating heartbreak, what was some of your earliest heartbreak that you ever had to deal with? And now you don't have to tell me the situation exactly, but just what kind of heartbreak did you deal with as a teen or in the early 80s?
Oh my gosh, I had so much heartbreak, so many different people. Well, I dated a lot of different kinds of guys because for me, I was like, you just don't know until I felt like I needed some experience
Yeah.
to date people to figure out what I want and who is right for me. So, oh yeah, but my heart broke many times. Um, oh my gosh. And actually looking back, I realized I did break some hearts, which I really did not see at all at the time.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh yeah, that probably was not good. And yeah, I didn't see it that way because in my life I've always been, my career has come first. That was, and I always thought, well, some people think they want to get married, right? That's their goal. The end goal is being married. And I was like, I don't know if I'll get married. I do know that I want to explore my career. So for me,
Yeah.
my relationships were, I thought it was an understanding to me, oh, we're dating, but we will break up because we have to grow up and we have to move on.
Yeah.
Um, which I think because I started so young, a lot of people, maybe a lot of guys were not in that place, and that's where you get your heart broken because if the person is thinking, okay, well, we're just going to keep growing up and moving on and doing our thing, then that's when it gets hurt. But it was different in the 80s. It just really was different, or 70s, late 70s. It wasn't, we didn't have cell phones, you had
Hmm.
to actually physically get together.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you maybe got on the phone and talked for a while, but you didn't get so close so quick. Um, it was just, or you had some time apart. It was a little different. But I will tell you that when I did start acting in the entertainment business, one of the people I dated was Bill Paxton.
Oh,
And we dated for like, I'm going to say 6 months to a year, something like that. And he was a sweetheart. We did a movie for television called Deadly Lessons.
hmm.
And we worked, and then we had a crush on each other. And then we're like, oh, okay, let's date. So he's the sweetest guy. But
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even believe I saw him actually, I think a year before he passed. And I got to tell you, I mean, it's still shocking to me what happened. I mean, it's tragic, tragic.
Yeah. I actually met him at the Kentucky Derby. I was there doing some marketing PR for a show that was being soft launched. And so I was the publicist for the show. And I'm in the food line And we were in the kind of like celebrity level, and yeah, I just didn't pay attention. I was standing there, and then I turn around, and he's right there. And I had this is pre-cell phone, so I had like one of the digital cameras that I had in my pocket, and I said, I have to take a picture. Like, you're gonna get your food, I'm gonna get my
He's the
food.
nicest
Like,
guy, right? He's
yeah,
so nice. He probably, oh, hey, sure,
yeah.
let's do a
Oh
picture.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was fun. Um, I will tell you my dumb story very briefly. Um, I went on a date, and I remember it was like in my eyes, it was great. Like, we went out to eat, whatever we did. Remember 40 some years ago, so dates are a blur at this point. And I remember thinking, if it went well, I put a rose in the this is so cheesy. I was 15, remember.
Oh,
I put a rose in the glove compartment, and I thought, if it goes well, I'll click the glove compartment, pull out the rose. I don't know what the heck I was thinking.
no, that's so romantic.
Yeah.
Right?
So she's like, this is the best date. It went, everything was great. I really enjoyed being with you. So I'm like, oh, you know what? That was my, so I go click, and I go, I forgot I got this for you. She's like, oh, and I said, so do you want to do something again soon? She's like, yeah, I don't think so. And I was just
What?
like
What?
stunned. Yeah, I was just like a young rube, and
Oh,
but yeah, so that was a
he was the
version of
Karen.
that for me.
Mr.
Yeah.
Karen. Oh, that's terrible.
Happens to everybody at some point.
Wow.
So let's talk about Monique and Better Off Dead.
Bet that's
Uh,
killed.
yeah, it pays to know a language other than the international language when you're looking for roles. Am I right?
Yes, I mean, actually, it's interesting. I coach students, and I always tell them, just learn languages, like learn languages, learn dialects. I mean, it helps. I mean, it's great to it opens your brain too. I mean, it gets you thinking in a different way. No matter what character you play, you'll always play somebody who either doesn't understand things fluently or has to rely more on physical um, uh, behavior.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, I love languages, and I speak a little bit of French, a little bit of Italian, a little bit of Spanish. I have to work on. uh, yeah, just a little tiny bit of German. Yeah, just a little bit. But I love the languages. I love the way they sound, um, and just, I don't know. That's just something I just always had an attraction to.
Well, your parents were German, right?
German and Austrian. So
Austrian. Okay.
my was German and my father was Austrian.
And you grew up in Long Island? Is that
And I
right?
grew up in Long Island. So,
Yeah.
so that's where it was. I'll tell you though, I was
Yeah.
growing up, and, a lot of people near me, they talked, like they talk like this,
Yeah.
and so I started to talk like this because actually when your parents are from another country, you spend time in school, you kind of pick up the voice of your friends
Yeah.
more so than your parents. It's very interesting. And so I was talking like this, and my manager said, you don't want to talk like that. My manager talked like this.
Yeah.
She said, you don't want to talk like that.
Yeah.
So she had her own voice. And she said, watch the news and talk like they do. And that's the first time I ever had language lessons.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, in your commercial world, when you were doing like Reese's and things like that, like, I didn't even know that was you until decades later. I just didn't, probably a lot of people didn't realize, you know what I
I
mean?
didn't know that people would still be watching it today. I mean, think
Yeah.
about a commercial, like the idea that people watch commercials from the late 70s, 60s. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
wild. It's wild. I would never, ever have thought that that would be something that would be around. And
What
I'm
was,
thrilled because it's so weird. It's such a
yeah,
weird. I'm walking with peanut butter. I mean,
I know.
that wasn't even a thing back then. It was, you don't do that. No, it was just
No.
somebody,
Yeah.
somebody in the advertising business saying, maybe we should get her to hold a jar of peanut butter. That's,
Right. That was the funny thing. You're just walking down the street with peanut butter. Yeah.
happy.
But you know what? It was a popular commercial. I mean, it worked, So just it worked.
Yeah. I actually got recognized from it on the streets of New York, and to say that they must have shown a lot, which was shocking. Again, somebody came up to
Yeah.
me and said, "Are you in that peanut butter commercial?" And I'm like, "What? That's just so it's so niche, so random. I didn't realize that was showing." And also, I had did a lot of commercials. It's great. Commercials are great training. Soap operas, great training for
Yeah.
actors. Because you have to be able to express a lot in a short amount of time. It's very technique based, but it's also like it's almost like a dance. There's beats, and you have a certain amount of
Yeah.
time. You gotta make those beats happen and completely natural. It's a truly its own skill. But I think if you are an actor, why not do everything? You call yourself an actor, you should be able to try it. So.
Yeah. What was the set of Better Off Dead like, and how long was the shoot? Like, give me some of the basics that you don't have
Hmm.
to go into it too length because I know you've told some of these stories, but
Yeah.
what was the set like?
I okay, so the set was adorable. It was great. We were out in Glendale shooting, and we were in the honey wagons. We had like all the honey wagons out there, and um it was beautiful weather. It was fall. Um and I got to meet John Cusack, who I never worked with before, and I didn't know, but I think I just because we all loved the film so much. We Everybody came to that film with ideas and was so excited to do it. It wasn't just another job.
Yeah.
Every person who was in that film embraced their character and brought something to the table. And before we got to the set, I remember doing a table read. And one of the things I thought was really fun was we're all sitting at the table dressed in normal clothes. I mean, they don't have any idea who Monique is. I don't know who Beth is. We don't know who Mrs. Smith is. And all of a sudden, all our voices just came and it was like, but suddenly you hear French girl, and then Lane Meyer, we're gonna talk like that. Then there's Ricky, stop it, Ricky. And
Reggae.
we're just like, and then Beth is, she's, I really think that this is not in my best interest. And it's just like the whole thing it was amazing. And we were laughing so hard because no one anticipated how important the voices were and how the characters evolved in the moment.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a film where you know what someone's going to look like or behave like. It was like, and everyone played it true. Everyone played it real. I mean, Ricky,
Yeah.
it's like, he was so funny when we did that scene with Christmas and squeezing my
Mhm.
face. Mrs. Smith, Laura Waterbury, she was squeezing my face, and I look over to Dan Schneider, and oh my gosh, he's just so straight faced, and he's with the doll, and
Yeah.
I think that's what makes this film so still real, still popular, because you can't imagine that this is happening, and then you can watch it over and over again. It's one of those first films, I think, that because it was on VHS and because it came out then, it was much better watching it over and over and over again than perhaps just once in the theater. Because you watch it once in the theater and you're like, wait, what is going on here? But then you watch
Yeah.
it over and over and again, and you're like, oh my gosh, do you see Ricky going for the balloon? Or wait, did you see like their hair standing up? You want to just see that in the classroom over and over again. So the feeling on the set was your original question. It was magical and wonderful. For me, certainly, I had a great time, and everyone was so nice. And it was, to me, it was just like a dream shoot because, again, up until that point, I hadn't really done any comedies. So for me, I was so happy to be in a film that was funny. I
Yeah.
actually have a good sense of humor, so I appreciate comedy. I love horror, I love drama, but that's not all of me, and
Yeah.
I have a good sense of humor, and so I was really happy to be in a comedy and be in a film that was just adorable and had a nice love story, and it was just, I don't know, I just love the film.
The script was perfect for the 80s too.
Yeah, it was
Just
very 80s, right?
yeah. I mean, you guys finding your voices, the script. really helped with that. It just seems like it was ideal for that. Did you ever work with Dan again?
No, I never did.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
just
no, that
wondering.
was it. That was all. That was it. He did do a show, and ironically, bizarrely, um, he didn't know, but they hired my daughter for a small part on Henry Danger, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
But he didn't like the casting person hired my daughter, and she did it. And so I said, "Oh, Olivia, I'm coming on the set," and I came onto the set.
Yeah.
And I surprised Danny, and he went, "What?" And I was like, "What?" And so that was kind of a funny moment, because
Yeah.
we hadn't seen each other a long time ago. Of course, that was before the whole world exploded,
Yeah.
but I didn't know any of that. But I was just kind of for me, it was interesting because he was so happy to see me too, and I thought that was interesting. It was. I mean, in retrospect, with all that, he was very sweet.
Yeah.
He pulled out his Ricky glasses, and so, but yeah, no, I had not seen him, but that was just one small moment in time. Other than that, I had
Sure.
not seen him.
What was your daughter's role?
Oh my gosh, she was. I think she was on a television set, so she played like a bad Instagram girl, like giving fashion advice, but she was like,
Yeah.
it was a mess. So like makeup was all over, and she was like it was a comedic thing because my daughter is a comedian. She
Okay.
does comedy under Sid and Olivia.
Okay.
And she actually, now that you're asking about my daughter,
Yeah.
she actually has a short film that got into the Tribeca Film Festival.
Wow.
It's coming in June. I think June 6th is the first screening of it. So she's going to be going to New York, and there's the screening of this new film. She's done a lot of comedy sketches. That's her main thing with Sid and Olivia, SYD. If you haven't seen it, they're a duo, a comedy team. So
Okay.
they do sketch comedy, hilarious, so fun.
Awesome.
But then this short film is kind of a movie. Is kind of a horror but comedy. It's
Yeah.
you'll see it someday.
Cool. I'll check it out
Yeah.
and share her links as well.
Oh,
You know
thank
what I
you.
mean?
Really
Yeah,
nice.
of course. Yeah. Hey, we all would if we're parents, right?
Oh my God. Well, just I'm like the mom of all moms. I'm like, don't even start on my because that's a series. It's not even an
Yeah.
episode. But I also wouldn't say something that wasn't true. Like brilliant writer, and I think people look at her and they look at me and they think, oh, like she looks a lot like me, which
Yeah.
is amazing. And I love that. And I
Yeah.
have a son too. He's a classical musician and he's incredibly handsome and incredible. He's an upright bassist. And, you know, I have a husband too. I have all these things. I have a
By the
husband,
way, yeah.
but, I, I'm just very fortunate, really fortunate.
Yeah. Well, maybe I will have coffee with you and your son sometime when you come to Chicago
Yes.
someday.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Um, for Better Off Dead, was there ever any alternate direction with the script? Or
That's
was
a
it
good
always Lane
question.
gets a girl?
Lane always got the girl.
Okay.
And that also, I mean, I think about it was based on Savage Steve Holland's true life
Hmm.
in the sense that he met a French exchange. There is a real Monique, and she is alive, and she says hello to me sometimes, and she's wonderful.
Yeah.
And she wasn't actually French, but she pretended to be French. So there's pieces of it that Savage put in there that are based on his true life. I mean, not everything, but
Yeah.
he got it. His mom, the cooking was very similar to his mom's cooking. And I mean, I don't know if she made octopus, but still, and if the food
Yeah.
was on the table, but yeah, it's an endearing look at his life.
Now, when you finish a film, you go on to the next project, whether it's TV or theater or another film.
Mhm.
And yet the film going world is starting to embrace I want my $2 and things like that and Ricky versus Lane and all that kind of stuff. Um, how long did it take for you to realize, you know, the way the world felt about that movie?
Oh, that's a nice question. Well, I okay, yes. So as an actor, you keep moving forward and you keep doing and you don't look back. You just keep going forward. And I then what happened was, oh, I guess when I had my family, I stopped acting for a while to raise my kids.
Right.
And then I never thought I'd go back to acting. I actually thought that was it. And I remember meeting someone at us at on my kid's school, and she said, "Do you ever miss acting?" And I'm like, "No, I did. I feel like I did everything I had to do, and I'm done." And
Yeah.
then what happened was my daughter, she got a computer and she started making films, and she needed me to act in them. And
Right.
so because of that, by that time, then I would go out and then the other thing too is when the kids went to school, people would start recognizing me. Oh, you were in Better Off Dead. Oh, you were in Bill and Ted's. They started saying that, and at the beginning, I didn't. I was like, oh, that must be just a coincidence. But when I really started realizing it was when I started doing conventions, and I started doing conventions um, because I somebody was said, oh, I do conventions, and if you're interested, come. And I couldn't even fathom what that was like.
Yeah.
And so when I started going to conventions, oh my gosh, that's when so many people were like, the films matter to me, and I love this film, and I love Better Off Dead. Um, some people like Amityville. I just that was the other thing too, that a lot of things that really surprised me are that I've done all these different genres, and people still um, I get a lot of different kinds of fans. And so I reach a wide range. I'm not just a horror actress. I'm not just a, comedic actress. So that's been very satisfying. And then even television, like Dallas the Early Years or Charles in Charge or Murder She Wrote, these films, these television shows that some people really, um, they just grew up watching.
Yeah.
Or Hitchcock Presents. So I started hitting me that what I was because I worked for so long, I realized, oh, I must be a part of Americana, um, like an Americana thing. Like I represent American part of American entertainment,
Yeah.
and that was a really wonderful thing. And I started to write my books, and because I thought, well, if maybe there are people who care and they want to know what it was like and what it's like to act throughout decades, uh, and I'm still acting. So I hope that it gives people, um, like a role model vision of like, okay,
Yeah.
you can do it if you do it. Go that way really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
Yeah.
Right.
That was one of my questions. I had your break, the years from TV and film.
Oh,
So we'll take that one. Um, but maybe part of the reason I would say, what, late 90s, you started to realize and started to do films for them, perhaps. Um, th there was no internet. I mean, so you
the other thing,
didn't know the fan level of love and passion for your projects, right?
yeah, no, that's the other part. Then it went from the conventions, and then it went to the internet. And then the beauty was that all of a sudden, like Better Off Dead started trending on Apple, like number
Yeah.
5 or something. Like that was amazing. Like I remember uh the Andy Meyer, who was a producer on the film, he couldn't believe that after years and years that, people really Better Off Dead was something that even was just as like it was really competitive to Breakfast Club in a certain way,
Yeah.
because Breakfast Club is big, but it doesn't necessarily identify the audience. Like there are people who go, oh, they watch it and they don't. I don't know. They don't see, like when we were growing up and we saw Breakfast Club. Oh, it rocked our world. I mean,
Yeah. Of
everybody picked, I'm you, I'm you. We picked a character and we just were that person.
course.
But in Better Off Dead, it's like, I don't know, just had as much a fan following. And I think it's because it's a feel good movie. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
you can watch it for Christmas, Valentine's Day, and it just makes you feel good. So I think that's why it's it's has stayed alive, hopefully forever, but you never know, right? It just depends. I think you could pass it on. People have passed it on to the next generation, and that's the best. That's the
Yeah.
best.
It feels like it's being passed along. That's for sure. Before we go to another film, I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about fans, where do they rank you as far as like their response when they're talking to you or when they're coming to meet you at a Comic Con? Is it um, Better Off Dead? Is it Bill and Ted's? Like what ranks first, second, third, that kind of thing?
I have even asked on the internet, like, what do you think I will be remembered for? Like, I really wanted to know. So this is interesting. It has actually evolved. It was a 50-50 split with Better Off Dead and Virgin. And then then I had like, I really thought when I went to horror conventions that people were going to contact me around Amityville,
Mhm.
but it was mostly Better Off Dead. But
Wow.
then on the other half of it, like I now I'm getting people from TerrorVision because TerrorVision is such
Yeah.
like a it's actually like a cult hit.
Yeah.
So I feel like people are rediscovering and discovering and rediscovering films. Um, and I really, again, think it has to do with the generation. So, like TerrorVision today, TerrorVision is making fun of the 80s.
Yeah.
So, people who watch it now go, oh, I get that. And that's really fun. And if you like horror, it's really fun. I saw it at a midnight showing and it was sold out. And it was I was so happy to see all the people there, and it played really well in theater, and people were laughing throughout. But that movie
It
came out
is.
on the internet, or it came out like VHS and all that stuff. So I think it's doing better now than it ever has.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm still curious. And then other people think, oh well, it's Bill and Ted's because it was the most commercial film. Bill and Ted's was the most widely watched and widely known. So I have a lot of people who grew up with that film. They watched it in school, they played it in high school.
Yeah.
They remember me from that. So I wonder. I don't know. What would you remember? What would you remember me from? I'm curious.
I I would say the variety. I mean, just like you were saying, I mean, you have this great variety of films that are equally memorable in like movie lore.
Well, you're
Um,
making me happy because
yeah,
I'm a very diverse person. I'm a
yeah,
very interesting person. So if people like the variety, then that is a symbol of the kind of person I am. I have a lot of different kinds of things I like to do. So
yeah.
um, good.
I mean, I talk to friends, like I said, and I said, "Oh, look who I'm interviewing," and I do that
Hi,
every
friend.
time I said it. Yeah, hi, friends.
Bonjour, friend.
And and each one had a different response as to which movie they love. Oh, she's from Better. Oh, God, I love her from social media, and some of them didn't even mention a movie because they know we both know all of your movies, that kind of thing. So, yeah, so just interesting, and then the other movie that the cult film that you were just talking about, that was one that where you were working with puppets and things, right?
Yes, and I also work with Jonathan Grice, who is
Oh
now
yeah.
John Grice, and he is on White Lotus,
Yeah, yeah.
which makes me so happy to see him doing that show because he's a lovely person and I'm so happy for him. I know that it means so much to him to be on that show um and it just is it's great that we got to work together. He played my boyfriend OD. It was and we had a really great time filming the film. It was such a great weird film.
Yeah,
It was weird in a great way. It was so I mean, if those of you who don't know, I had like three wigs on and they were all different colored hair and
yeah,
I came off doing like Better Off Dead and you if you looked at me, you would not hire me as a punk rocker. But I am always grateful for Ted Nicolau, who directed the film and wrote it as well. See, all these writer directors love
yeah.
writing. because they have a vision, they write it, they have the vision, and then they we go shoot it, and I love that.
Yeah.
But he hired me even though I thought I didn't look like it, but I, like Susie Putterman, like no way,
Yeah.
you know, combining the Valley Girl and the punk rocker. Um,
Yeah.
it was very cool.
You pulled it off. You pulled it off.
Thank you.
Get a drink if you need
Yeah,
to.
well, that's what. Okay.
So, Bill and Ted's, decades later, what does it mean to you right now?
Well, good question now. For a while, well, I love Bill and Ted's.
The first
We
film.
never ever expected it to be so popular because they shelved it for a while. We kept asking, "Where's the film? Where's the film?" We shot it in '87. It didn't come out till '89.
Wow.
So that was also unusual because films usually aren't held. They're just either disappear. It
Yeah.
was really interesting. Then we shot two endings, two different endings. I did go to the prom with Ted. It
Yeah.
was wonderful. We became prom king and prom queen with Alex and Kimberly, um, and it was most triumphant. And then George Carlin was there, which was excellent.
Yeah.
Um, and then when they did part two, we thought we were going to be in it, and then we weren't. But then they kept the roles, and then we wound up doing another. They did third Bill and Ted's, and we thought we were going to be in it, and then we didn't. And so for a while, it was very hard. Um, but last year, I actually ran into Keanu. I hadn't seen him since we shot the film, and I saw him in Dog Star. He plays the
Yeah.
bass in the band, and I went to see him. He was so genuine. He was so nice, and I thought, you know, this is not his deal. He would have been on our side to do this. It was I felt like a purge of like, okay, not purge, but
No.
a relief. Like I said, okay, fine, we've moved on, we've done our job, and I always felt like that. Obviously, I mean, I loved the first version because we got to travel into England and we got to wear the beautiful dresses, and I got to
Yeah.
just, most princess of all princesses. Um, I love being part of the franchise because it's an upbeat, positive message film. Again, you know.
Yeah.
So
It was just, I think it was insulting to you, but insulting to fans as well. Everybody that they brought
yeah,
back a couple of characters and they didn't bring, what, Missy, the
yeah,
character, and,
they brought,
and
yeah,
what was it, Ted's dad? They brought back, like,
yes,
yeah. And it just, I don't know. It's just some
it's
things are
waiting.
so easy to do. Like
Uh-huh.
there's
Especially because we
low-hanging
wanted
fruit.
to. And the other part of it was, first of all, we wanted to. We were even saying we'll fly out on our own dime. But the I found it just really insulting because we were just the princess and the babes, and it wasn't like they had French princesses. I know I've said this before. It's not like they had English princesses, Egyptian
Yeah.
princesses. I mean, they did English, but they could have just made it like other princesses. But the fact that we were replaced was not funny. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think they thought
Yeah.
maybe, oh, no one will know. This is just funny. The princesses just change all the time. That wasn't funny. It was disrespecting and thinking, again, you're correct that the fans would notice, and fans did notice. It was a big deal. But,
Yeah.
you know, um, I'm grateful that we were in the first, and I know Kimberly is as well. And we are happy that fans always still remember us. That's the thing. I say, well, no matter what, always remember us. And perhaps we'll do a big, princess get together with all the princesses, and we'll do a convention. That would be quite lovely.
Yeah.
All the Princess Elizabeths and all the Princess Joannas. So
What's it been like? I mean, 43 years, something
yeah,
like that since that film. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if they were doing that these days with the internet, you would have been brought back. You know what I mean? Because the first one was
I
what?
hope so. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the first one was in the 80s. What, like you said, what, 87 came out in
Yeah,
89?
7 we did it. 89 it came out.
Okay, so the next one came out a few years later. And then this long this long break.
Then the other one came out in COVID,
Wow, you're right. Yeah, it was that long.
2019, I think.
Right. So I mean, it kind of blows my mind that they didn't realize, in 2018 or 19, this needs to be fixed.
Yes, yes,
That's
especially in 2019. Yes, you
yeah,
a little bit more respect for women, and
yeah.
even a nod. Like even if we were in the audience, even if the other princesses were there, but we were in the wedding party, just sitting there listening, it would have been a nod to the audience.
It would have. It would have
Yeah.
been. It would have been fun.
Honestly,
You
I
know?
think they would have even made more money because I think that there were people who were like, I'm not going to see this film because of that. So it would have had goodwill. I think that's
I
what it is.
agree. Yeah.
But
Hey, you're giving something to the fans. I
yeah,
mean, that's the thing.
I'll always be your Princess Elizabeth anytime you need it.
There you
Oh,
go.
and then of course they got the credits wrong. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm Princess Elizabeth. I even asked the writer, who am I? I remember getting the script. Um, I think I even have a script now. It's funny, an old script, the original draft. Um, but I was, Elizabeth, and in the credits, because the boys never said who we were, they never said, "Oh, Princess Elizabeth, Princess." They just
Like babes or
names,
whatever.
right?
Yeah.
The person just had to take a guess. So
Yeah.
they guessed wrong, and so for years I was writing, love Princess Joanna because I thought, okay, well, I guess that's on the film. But then when they
Right.
kept doing them, it was always Princess Elizabeth. So they blew it. They blew
Funny. Well, maybe like you said, seeing Keanu brought some closure to that
it
whole
did.
process.
It really did. I have to say, um, I think it is interesting. He's such a huge star, that you're thinking he'd have the power to do something. But I don't blame him. I think he's not the person. He was a good guy. I think he would have, been fine with it. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Um,
they'll probably make another one, which we won't be in. But um, at least I have the fans who remember me from the beginning. So
Maybe they'll right that wrong with a walk by or something, if nothing else.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, you said in your book you called yourself an 80s teen babe.
Hmm.
And so I was wondering, when in the 80s did you know that you were one?
Oh,
And well, go ahead. You can
no,
answer.
not until adulthood. Not until after I
Okay,
met,
yeah.
like, okay. I really, what happened was I looked back and I went, if you were going to tell somebody who I was,
Yeah.
just if it was a stranger and you say, okay, remember that actress? She was like a teen. And then I thought babe was kind of an 80s word, you
Yeah.
know? So I thought, okay, that's kind of funny, a teen babe,
Yeah.
because I realized that I was always the crush. I was the girl that the guys wanted to get with, whether it be, Charles in Charge or, um, even Virgin or, Better
Yeah.
After. I was the crush. So I kind of, that's why I came to it because I was like, well, who am I? Whatever I was going to say, like, where's the center of who I played? So that's why.
Yeah. No,
It
that's
wasn't
cool.
back then. I never saw, oh, I don't see myself as a babe. I just see myself as Diane. I just do my thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, these days it'd be different. You would know it right away,
That's true.
by, followers, that kind of thing. So it was nice that for us, it was nice that it was organic for you and you lived your life the way it was and that kind of thing. Let's talk about Amityville. So I read or heard that you chose the project partially based on who was in it. And it seemed like when you're doing that not that you were ever immature because you had a long career, you started young, but that you were taking a mature approach to selecting projects. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Well, Amityville was technically my second film, but it also had nudity in it.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about nudity as an actor is that when you do it, you have to watch that you don't get hired just for that. And so when it came up, that was my first concern. But whenever you do something like that, it's very specific. It was very much written exactly what you're going to do, what you're not going to do. It's in a contract.
Yeah.
But that was the part of me that went, I don't want to have this part just because of that, right?
Right.
But I am from Long Island, and so I had a lot in common with the story. There was a
Yeah.
kinship I had with the story. And then the other part of it was that I got to work with actors because Last American Virgin, we were all newbies. We were all kind of starting on our own. And Steve Anton. He had done a couple of films. He'd done Goonies, I think. I think Goonies, and he was in a movie with Jodie Foster. But he wasn't. He hadn't hit his main stride, and he was still working. But with Amityville, I got to work with seasoned actors. And so
Yeah.
to me, that was more important. I was like, you could do a horror film, but if you're the top person in the horror film, unless, I mean, you could go as you're the star and you'll get
Yeah.
something for that. But I really wanted to learn at that age. I really wanted to learn from the ones I was working with. Uh, and it was interesting because at the time when I did it, was 20, but I looked like I was 14.
Yeah.
I looked very young. So that I think that the actors I worked with, Andrew Prine, James Olsen, Britannia Alda, and Burt Young, looked at me and thought, "Wow, I'm a very good actress because I was so young, but I was so aware and poised. I mean, I could make that work, you
Yeah.
know." So I think there was like a mutual respect, and that film, I knew I always wanted to do a horror film, but I didn't know that film. We took like I'm going to say 3 months to shoot. That was
Wow.
much longer, and those were the days when films took a long time to shoot.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was interesting is every director sets the tone. So Virgin had a certain tone. Um, the set was fun, but it was also uh, kind of like, let's get going, let's move it, let's do it. And then
Yeah.
Amityville was more like, okay, quiet on the set, like let's everything be quiet. And it allowed the actors, it gave a lot of respect. I think that was the interesting part of working with seasoned actors is that the director gave these actors and gave me extra time to prepare and the respect and they stayed out of our way, just let us do our thing. Whereas a newbie director or maybe someone who doesn't who's working with people who are not as seasoned maybe is a little bit more like directive and hands-on, like this there was a feeling of calmness and um a smoother a tone of serious and respect while we were shooting. But then Burt Young would like make jokes between and just to keep it because he
Yeah.
was working with the kids too. We were all working as a family, so he tried to keep it light between so that everyone was cool. The kids
Yeah.
wouldn't be scared or anything. It
Yeah.
was a great movie to shoot.
Definitely.
Everything. All these movies are so. I can't even tell you again. Shooting films and making movies is just such a drug. It's like you feel it. It's a wonderful experience and no one can take that away from you. And if you're a well-known or an A-list actor, you understand what I'm talking about. It's that moment of everyone, the crew, you're all in the same head in producing and in making it happen. No one's there's nobody on a really A-class set that doesn't take what they're doing seriously. If they do, they're out. If they don't take it seriously, they're out. It's a
Sure.
really intense but also rewarding experience.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the times, could be one, could be multiple, when you were allowed to give input and kind of shape your character on set?
Oh, many times. In Amityville, um, it was interesting because people say to me, well, how could you do that with your brother? But I never had a
Yeah,
brother, so I don't have that relationship.
yeah,
So I had to actually figure out, how does a person treat a brother? Because I never had that.
yeah.
And what I noticed was, like, people had brothers, like, they pushed them a lot, and they tease them and they joke, and they're it's a different relationship. So I had to create that. Like, that wasn't something that the director told me. I just was like, okay, I got to figure out how to show that relationship. And then even like running through the house and screaming and all that stuff, I mean, that is just organic to visualizing the experience. And then you put yourself in that situation. And I did, though, get a streak of gray hair, which is covered up, from that film, because I screamed and cried every day for a month. Like, when we shot it in Mexico, we were running in Mexico, all the interiors were inside
Yeah.
the soundstage. And I remember running back and forth and screaming and cut, okay, okay, take it again. And like the tears come down. And yeah, it's your emotion is your job, and the self-discipline about in which you try to bring it back, and then but make it sincere and real. It's instinctive, and then but it's also I'm very creative. I'm a very
Right. Now you're still a working actor, so like what is your approach to preparation for the role?
my approach has actually changed. Originally I had no training. And it was interesting because that actually works for a while. If you don't have any training, but you must be very observant as an actor. You have
Yeah.
to watch behavior and connect to emotions and connect to yourself. You have to know yourself, and then ask yourself, how can I put myself in that situation, and how would I be? And so I was very sensitive that way. But then what happened was, I wound up taking acting classes. I wound up taking a 2-year program in Meisner. And the reason, I think what was fascinating about that is, as you mature as a person, there's a lot more problems you have.
Yeah.
It's not so simple. I mean, you could stay very simple, but you're going to play someone who's a drunk. You're going to play someone who's blind. You're going to play someone who's has a dialect, or maybe someone who's um, tremendously stressed out, or has or you've been through tragedy, or there's so when you're an adult. So what I think is interesting about training is, after I had the training, I was much more well prepared to do more character roles.
Yeah.
And it gave me another place where it doesn't make you more interesting. Training doesn't make you interesting. You either have it or you don't. You are or you're not. But it does give you more depth to your work, and
Mhm.
it creates situations where you now can build. I remember when I auditioned for, and I actually had to audition. Well, I got the role, but I auditioned for Amityville Murders. What happened
Right.
was, the director offered me the part, but I still had to show the producer, because people hadn't seen me act in so long. And I remember going, okay, like, all bets are off. We're gonna, I'm just doing the part, whether I get it or not. I've always, piece of advice I always give my people who work with me, who coach with me, is, when you audition, make it don't look at it as an audition. Make believe you've already gotten the part, and now you're going to just do your role, and just do it as if you got the role. So there's no stress. You're just going to act what you think it should be. And so you commit so fully, and you're free, because you're not trying to get the role. You got the role, right? So
Hmm.
um, when I did audition, I had to audition for this part. I remember that, like, I had this bag that I was supposed to pack. And usually at an audition, you don't usually use real items. But in this case, I was like, oh, screw it. I'm bringing a
Yeah.
bag. So, like, I was packing my stuff, and I was leaving. And I just didn't care. I mean, I just was like, crying and upset. And I was just in the moment. And when I finished, the director and the producer stood up and clapped and said, "You are Louise. You are like Louise
Yeah.
Defense." Like it was amazing. It was just like booking it in the room. And I think that kind of freedom is something that I feel now that I go, all right, I look at a script, I know what I need to do, and I'm open to, if the director has suggestions, obviously do that. So, that's kind of the feeling.
Yeah, good insight. Thank you. Appreciate that. Few things. I just keep jotting down notes when they come in, and I'll try not to keep it too much longer. Um, I read that you were deaf in one of your ears. Is that right?
Yes, yes, my right ear. Nothing's working. It's all nothing happened, which is, I guess, it probably adds to my performances because I really have to listen
Yeah.
carefully. But if I have somebody on this side, well, I guess I'm going to miss my line, right?
We gotta twist things. Yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
No, I was
Well,
just curious. I I
yeah.
uh I
I'm sure
lost
there's been
six.
people on sets who've talked to me and they thought I was really arrogant because I've had people think I'm arrogant because I'll just stand there and I'll be like, and they think I can hear, but I can't. I'm really nice, but I can't hear. So,
Yeah.
and it was at birth. We don't know why. It wasn't like some major thing happened. It was just my parents discovered it when I was 4. We had a 3-level house, and they would call from upstairs, and I'd run downstairs because you can't tell where sound is coming from when you can't hear in one ear.
Yeah.
So that's when like, oh, okay, there's something wrong. A 4-year-old does not totally, you know, it, diss you like that. Well, maybe they do, but right.
Yeah. I lost probably 65% of my hearing in both from cancer.
Oh
So I'm
no.
totally fine. I like went through it. Chemo and radiation. I did 35 radiation, 3 chemo.
Gosh.
But I had it in my throat, and it was this close to my head that I have ringing in my ears. So I just thought when I saw that, I thought I'd bring it up because I know partially what it's like. I haven't had it since 4, so I don't know nearly what you have gone through. But yeah, I thought it was just interesting.
Yeah, no, people,
Um,
that's the other thing too. A lot of actors, they might have some kind of disability or something that you don't know about, but then yet it makes them interesting. You know,
mhm,
I'm like,
yeah,
huh. I know for me, like sometimes I'll cock my head like that, which may make me look like I don't get it, like
yeah,
she's like a cocker spaniel, she's like,
yeah.
but that's just who I am. So, um, but yeah, I've always been that person who I've had to overcome things and I just do it. I guess my stubbornness helps.
Good, good. A worker bee.
I am a little worker bee. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like it.
Um, okay, so I'll try to keep rapid fire at this point because
Okay.
I don't want to go too long. Um, let's see. Can you talk about uh, I think I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I'm going to try my best not to. Pareidolia.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a wonderful short. I watched it. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations. You won Best Actress for it,
Yeah.
right? How was that? And talk about that cast and crew because it was a great group that came together for that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I never did a film with English actors before,
Yeah.
and it was it was just such a fun experience.
Yeah.
Uh, um, Pickles. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her first name. Carolyn Pickles. We did
Yeah.
a scene together, and during the scene, she is trying to not do an American dialect, and I'm trying not to do an English dialect. So talking like this, and then she's talking like this. I'm like, no, let's just keep it. It was very
Yeah.
cute, very fun. She's lovely. Um, yeah, and what was really wonderful is that there's a gentleman named Stuart Morris, and he always was a huge fan of
Yeah.
Amityville Part Two, the Possession, the earlier film I
Right.
did, and he never forgot me, and he brought me out there, and he, uh, at first, he was just a big fan of the film, but then he got into producing, and he decided to
Yeah.
produce the film, and he did such a great job putting it together. And what I loved about it was the idea of pareidolia being something scary, because I've never heard of a film being scary based on what you imagine you see a a figure or something in like a pareidolia. For those who don't know, is you see a like a face in a tree trunk or a face in a cloud or an image. And I
Yeah.
thought, great idea for a film. So yes, that's it was an award-winning film. It won tons of awards, and it was my first Best Actress award. And Aiden Truce wrote it, um, and his son directed it. And
Yeah.
uh, Aaron and Aiden Truce, they wrote and directed it, and it was lovely, lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely go see it. I mean, it was stream it, don't go,
Yeah,
but
yes.
can you talk about why you like the horror genre and why it speaks to you?
I like horror because it's for me at my age, it's where the emotion is. So a lot of times on television, you'll see procedural and it'll be a lot of information, but it'll just be dialogue. He went to this, he's down in the 405, with the, and he's being attacked by, the bunch of people hanging around the neighborhood, and they're all walking around, and, you got to stop them, because if they don't, it's just like, blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
now with horror, it's much more emotional. And there's some fun characters. I'd love to play a vampire. I'm waiting for that. Who's going to
Uh,
play a vampire role? Um, but yeah, I like horror, but the other part of it is horror is very now boutique. You can go see horror that's very gory, or you could see horror that's got more tension, or it's a like a thriller, or it just has a lot of different areas, it's gray areas. So
yeah.
I really like horror because, and it also is universal. If you run screaming, everybody in the world knows what that is. So you do a film
Yeah.
here and you show it in Hungary, everyone's going to get that. Or you show it in, Yugoslavia, people are going to know, okay, I get that. You don't have to have the dialogue. Whereas comedy, which I love as well, but comedy is regional. Comedy in one place is going to be, something's going to be funnier in one place than the other. The only comedy that's universal is when you fall down. Then everybody
Yeah, that's true. Do you have certain parts of the world that, maybe are bigger fans than others, that where you hear from people more than others?
Well, here's a funny thing. I've gotten a lot of fan letters from different parts of the world. I know there's a lot of fans in Australia, which have not gone to in years. I went there to shoot a movie years ago, but um, I would like to go visit them, because I think there's a lot of people they're like revisiting and rediscovering the 80s. So I think that's really,
Uh,
but
yeah.
I have fans in Sweden, and I even got a letter from China, which I thought was amazing that it even got to me. I was like, wow, how did this get to me? Um,
Right.
but I think, and then, also Brazil. Supposedly, I'm very big in Brazil. I don't know. They all love Virgin. They love Virgin.
Uh,
So maybe I'll get down there some point. But the big thing that's happening is there's an event called the Sands, which is going to be happening this November in Cancun. And there's
uh,
a Better Off Dead reunion with
yeah.
myself, Amanda Wiss, and John Cusack, who
Wow.
never has ever done a Better Off Dead convention. Because it's the 40th anniversary, they were able to get him. So, and there's going to be one more guest, and I don't know who it is. So I highly recommend. This event is so much fun. Everybody who's there loves the 80s, and it's a week-long convention with tons of 80s bands. So go check out
Wow.
thesands.rocks, and you can see all the information. I highly recommend it. I mean, I've been there before, so you can just say Diane sent you, right?
And it's all just better off dead, right?
Well, the actors are Better Off Dead. This is going to be like a Better Off Dead reunion.
Good.
The celebrities, but
Yeah.
everybody else, they have um, all these different 80s bands that are the original bands. People coming.
Oh,
So
very cool.
Howard Jones will be there. In fact, he'll probably play.
Ooh,
Like to
yeah.
get you will. So, he'll be there, but they usually show like two bands a night, and you're very close to them, and it's standing room, and it's really fun. It's really
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah,
take
that's
that
very cool.
back.
Do you have any ambition to direct or write horror or non-horror?
Oh my goodness. Um, I have directed. Um, I've directed musicals
Yeah.
um, for years, but they are for uh, middle schoolers, for kids.
Yeah.
And I also coach younger kids as well. Uh, I feel very comfortable directing, but as far as film and television, my I could I've produced some things. I just think I feel like I still like acting.
Yeah.
So I think that that's where I like to focus it. And then writing, I probably will write some more books.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer here. So,
Yeah.
you
But
know,
I'll tell you something else. This gentleman has come to me recently. He has a show, and he asked me to executive produce it because I've given him some really great notes.
yeah.
Um, but the thing about it is, I don't want to be. I want to act in his project. I don't want to produce it.
Yeah.
I feel like if I had my own baby, maybe if I did an 80s babed series, something
Yeah.
that is my baby, I could do that. But we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
We'll see. Um, Let me think. Oh, you had a few other projects that were in the hopper, probably in post-production. And so
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could kind of finish off by talking about those, like Vampire, is it Deb and Seth, Save the World?
Yeah.
Talk
Deb,
about those.
they changed the title, and I'm really glad they did. I mean, I like that title.
Yeah.
Deb and Seth Save the World is completely what it sounds like. Very fun, goofy, and I play a sort of a Vincent Price narrator. Which,
Uh,
see, again, these roles you've never seen me, and you're like, how does she do that? What's that like?
yeah.
Um, Vampire is going to be very fun. And supposedly, the guy who did color correction contacted me and said my scenes are very funny, which is great.
Good.
I play teacher, so you'll see that. And let's see, I'm going to be doing a film called The Retailer, and I'm going to do that next month. And that's a horror film, but it's an interesting role. I've never played this kind of a person, this job, so I don't want to give it away. But
Yeah.
this role is kind of interesting. And then I did a series called Riding with Pride, and that one hasn't come out yet either. But I play a mother who died, and so I come back as a ghost, and like a riding. It's about horses and LGBTQ and sort of
Jeez.
that world, and I play the mom who gives her daughter advice. And so but then, like, I've got stuff on Tubi. I have Waking Nightmare on Tubi, which is a great film. If you haven't seen it, you
Yeah.
will
I got Waking
probably
Nightmare right
oh
here.
you will not trust me anymore. So I'm just saying, if you liked me, didn't see that movie because you won't trust me.
Yeah.
Waking Nightmare is on Tubi, and then I did a movie with Jennifer Tilly and Tom Arnold, which is probably still out there, called High Holiday, and that is, um, I think it's on Peacock. High
Okay.
Holidays. Oh, and then I did Prank Encounters with Johnny Knoxville and my daughter.
Yeah.
That's a really fun episode. So just there's a lot of things that are out there, but it just is a question. It's so nice to be still working, and people approach me for projects, which is really great. I
Yeah.
appreciate.
Well,
Thank you. Merci buckets. Merci.
you're very talented. I mean, maybe you'll be that vampire someday. Who knows? Yeah. So,
Funny. That would be very fun. That would be
it would
cool.
be. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. Well, hey, yeah, we've gone over a little bit, so
That's
I just
no
want to
problem.
say thank you so much for your time. Love your work. We'll always continue to
Well,
love your work and stay in touch. And I'll make sure I have everything in kind of the description, and we'll make sure we uh, put something fun out there for our little teaser.
I love that. And definitely um, keep me posted, and I'll share it on my social media.
You got it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, thank
Nice to
you.
meet you. Au revoir.
Take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye. Tschüss.
Cheers. Right.